Seriously, did HR approve your wardrobe or did your grandma raid a thrift shop? Kyle Henderson's voice cut through the office like a rusty knife. He stepped up to the new intern, tearing at the sleeve of her sleek jacket with theatrical flair. Laughter bubbled nervously from nearby desks, a chorus of people too scared to intervene. The girl froze for a heartbeat, then straightened, her eyes calm, almost amused. "I'm pretty sure it's fine," she said quietly, voice soft but steady, like someone who didn't need anyone's permission to exist. Kyle laughed, a harsh, mocking sound. "Fine? Look at this." He jabbed at the torn fabric. "You're embarrassing yourself and everyone around you." She didn't flinch, didn't raise her voice, just tilted her head, scanning the room like she was taking notes. "You seem really invested in my jacket," she replied, voice like velvet over steel. "Maybe you should focus on your work instead of mine." Kyle blinked, surprised by the calm in her tone, then sneered harder. "Don't tell me how to do my job." He snapped, pacing back and forth, flexing his ego like muscles no one asked for. "I've been here 10 years longer than you've even been alive. You think a cute face and fancy jacket will get you anywhere?" She let out the tiniest laugh, a sound so quiet it could have been a whisper, but it made his face twitch. "I'll see," she said, smiling like she already knew the answer. Around them, the office buzzed in awkward silence, unaware that the tiniest spark was lit, and Kyle had no idea the firestorm coming for him was already brewing. By mid-morning, Kyle Henderson's ego was practically glowing. He thought he'd already humiliated the new girl into submission. He leaned over her desk, scanning her screen like a self-appointed judge of everything in the office. "Is that really how you do a spreadsheet?" he barked, fingers drumming, smirking at every typo he imagined. "You're lucky I don't show this to the entire department," he added, loud enough that coworkers winced and shuffled papers nervously. The girl didn't flinch. Instead, she tilted her chair slightly, calm, unshaken. "Lucky?" she said softly, voice smooth as silk. "Or maybe just unlucky for you that I actually know what I'm doing." Kyle's jaw twitched. He hated being challenged by someone so small, so quiet, so invisible, and yet the audacity burned hotter than he expected. He leaned closer, closer than protocol allowed. "You better watch yourself, rookie," he hissed, tone dripping menace. "I make sure people like you don't last a week here." A coworker cleared their throat awkwardly, trying to intervene, but Kyle waved them off like a king dismissing peasants. The girl's lips curved into a faint, unassuming smile, tiny enough to seem harmless, but something about it made Kyle hesitate. For a split second, his confidence faltered, replaced by a prickling unease he couldn't name. "What's so funny?" he demanded, noticing her subtle grin. "Nothing," she whispered, but the glance she shot him, quick, calculated, felt like a dagger hidden in satin. Kyle laughed nervously, waving it off, but inside, a chill crept up his spine. Around them, the office whispered, sensing tension, unsure whether it was comedy or tragedy in progress. And Kyle had no clue that the first threads of his unraveling had already been woven, invisibly, perfectly unstoppable. By lunch, Kyle Henderson was on a warpath, his face flushed with self-righteous fury as he cornered the girl near the printer. "You think you can waltz in here and act like you own the place?" he spat, shoving a stack of papers onto her desk. The papers tumbled everywhere, a flurry of white chaos, but she didn't flinch. She knelt, calmly gathering them, eyes locked on him, calculating, silent, deadly. "I don't act," she said softly, voice like honey laced with steel. "I do my work." Kyle scoffed, leaning over her, smirk stretched too thin. "Do your work? You're making everyone look bad, including me." A few coworkers tried to suppress snickers, hiding behind monitors. Their curiosity piqued like they were watching a live boxing match. She looked up, meeting his eyes evenly. "Making you look bad? That's funny," she said, almost to herself. Kyle froze, unsure if she was mocking him or lost in thought. "What's that supposed to mean?" he snapped. "It means," she continued, voice casual, "that sometimes people who try hardest to appear important are the ones easiest to unravel." Kyle's smirk faltered. "Unravel? Who are you? Some kind of poet?" She smiled faintly, brushing off a paper with exaggerated grace. "Call me someone who knows how to survive," she said, and with a subtle glance around the office, she executed the tiniest, perfectly timed act of sabotage, dropping a coffee cup she had balanced behind her, the spill splashing straight onto Kyle's papers, ruined, soaked, his rage boiling into visible steam. The office erupted in shocked laughter, Kyle sputtering, turning redder than a traffic light. And the girl just stood, calm, collected, a storm barely contained, while Kyle realized, too late, that his reign was cracking. Kyle Henderson's arrogance had reached a boiling point, but he didn't realize the storm had been brewing under his nose. The girl, quiet all morning, finally stood at the center of the office, papers in hand, voice calm yet commanding. "Kyle," she said, slow and deliberate, "do you know what harassment looks like?" His smirk faltered. "Excuse me?" he snapped, puffing up like a wounded rooster. "I've been watching," she continued, turning to the general manager who had quietly arrived unnoticed, "and documenting everything. From tearing my jacket to mocking my work to humiliating coworkers. Every single incident." A murmur ran through the office. Kyle's eyes widened, panic flashing. "You can't. This is insane," he stammered. She handed a meticulously compiled folder to the GM. "It's not insane. It's proof. And the funny part, I've enjoyed every second of watching you dig your own grave." The GM's eyes narrowed, lips pressing into a thin line, then slowly, deliberately nodded. "Kyle Henderson," the GM said, voice low but lethal, "pack your things. HR will escort you out." Kyle turned red, sputtering, desperate, trying to argue, but no one flinched. The office watching the dismantling of his empire of arrogance like a live show. The girl stood tall, serene, a faint, triumphant smile playing on her lips. "I guess," she said softly, almost to herself, "some lessons only hit when you're paying attention. And I've just taught mine." Kyle's face contorted, shame and rage colliding, as security led him past cubicles filled with stifled laughter, whispers, and the silent satisfaction of an entire office watching a tyrant fall. And finally, the girl walked back to her desk unshaken, victorious, her secret safe no longer the day hers, and Kyle's legacy reduced to a cautionary tale. Want more jaw-dropping stories of karma, payback, and office chaos that'll make you gasp, laugh, and cheer? Hit follow, share this with everyone who loves a savage comeback, and drop your own never mess with me moment in the comments. Because trust me, you don't want to be Kyle Henderson in your story.